Hello, hello. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been raining basically non-stop for the past 3 days, but it's cleared up now, and I thought I would, step outside and record in the backyard. So, this week, if you've been following along with the channel, we've been talking about cancel culture, starting off using the example of John Raffman, some artist getting cancelled in a meaningful way, not just yelled at on the internet, but actually like facing some real material repercussions for some allegations that were made by an anonymous Instagram account. And yesterday I was expanding on this essay from the Point magazine by Mr. Asad Haider, who he's writing about the Cultural Revolution in China, the GPCR, the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, which is a very, very meaningful historical event, very significant to any communist today. You should really be thinking about it and paying attention to it. And anyway, so he sets out a framework, using these three concepts that I went over: dismissal, pluralization, and depoliticization. And my goal today was to try to... Oh, hello Goose. There's a cat here. My goal today was to try to talk a little bit more concretely, to try to relate like those concepts and the proletarian cultural revolution, the GPCR, to contemporary cancel culture in a more concrete sense, using this John Raffman example. So I mean, there's not much to say. It's like not a very complicated thing to try to develop. Basically, like if you look at these kinds of institutions that I've been referencing, like this Instagram account and the shitty media men list, and there are others, I'm sure, basically these kind of like vigilante alternative justice systems, they really represent very perfectly this phenomenon of depoliticization, where these people are basically appealing to authority to dismiss people from these institutions. Like the contrast is pluralization, where you have the people forming their own institutions in order to remove power from whatever problematic institution on their own terms, without needing to appeal to any kind of higher authority. It's more democratic. But really, like what you have today, you don't have people like forming their own art worlds. You don't have people forming their own media, really. Are really trying to move the center of power away from these institutions, and arrive at a more egalitarian society thereby. But you just have people exerting cultural, social pressure on the forces of power, people who are higher up in the hierarchy than their targets, in order for those people, for the more powerful individuals, or corporate boards, to exercise power downwards in order to dismiss the targeted individual, and thereby arrive at some kind of retribution, some kind of, or more generously say that you remove the dangerous element from society or whatever. So that is, we've already spoken about it. It's a form of factionalization. It is really just a bunch of people competing with each other for limited positions and for a limited quantity of power, without actually trying to change structures or change society in a meaningful sense. It is really just a negative spiral that does not contribute to any kind of shared positive political goal. So this Surviving the Art World account that canceled John Raffman, it is not all that Instagram account was. It wasn't just targeted at John Raffman. Let's remind ourselves of that. It was a platform for where anybody could go on and submit their allegations of whoever in the art world, and whatever shady activity whether it was, rape or like messaging someone on Facebook. One of the stories posted was really, really specious. It was literally just somebody who messaged somebody on Facebook. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted, like talking shit about people. Like, I'm not here to make personal judgments about people or individuals or whatever their motivations may be. I think that's bad practice in general. But this platform, this account was really just setting itself up as a place where people could go and cancel people, not, without some kind of struggle. Like, obviously, like if you just post something, the person doesn't automatically get canceled, but you have to actually like do something. You have to, and what this Instagram account did was they tagged the institutions that, the people in question worked for, in order to like pressure the institutions to be accountable. But basically that is really just appealing to authority to exercise power downward, rather than, building a base from which to exercise power upward from the grassroots. So I shared in yesterday's video an anecdote, which is in Assad's article. I'm going to link to it again because it's really good. But, this like very famous Red Guard in China like called up Mao, saying like, please like disavow, or like in some other way destroy this competing faction. And Mao's response was like, why would I do that? It is, like, that is not how you exercise power. That is not how you do things in a socialistic manner. So yeah, like my ultimate point here, and I want to like kind of stop talking about this surviving the art world shit and John Raff and all that nonsense. In my live stream, I'm going to spill a few juicy gossip details that have come to my way over the course of the week and making these videos. So stay tuned for that. Sunday, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. We'll be talking more about this in a more kind of juicy way. Yeah, basically, like this whole cancel culture thing is depoliticized because it is really just exerting cultural pressure on the people who control the levers of power in order to exercise power downwards. They're not contributing to any kind of shared, or even building any kind of shared political program, any kind of vision of society, there's no strategy for moving beyond these institutions, for really moving beyond this kind of the culture that gives rise to predatory behavior or whatever criminal behavior we're talking about here. And it's all non-political, and it's a bit hard for me to like just univocally or like condemn it universally, because obviously cancel culture has resulted in things like Weinstein getting thrown in jail, and that other, like a bunch of other people obviously who like are legitimate like evil criminals, sex rapists, and people who should be in jail, but really they just, like those movements of cancel culture really just brought things to light and put it on the plate of the conventional bourgeois justice system to deal with the actual meting out of justice. So this kind of brings me into what I want to talk about here, which I kind of failed to really get at in the 2 videos that I made this week about transformative justice. I'm just going to like conclude, and I'll try to get into this more tomorrow in a more kind of heartfelt video. But my view is that cancel culture is obviously not transformative justice. I feel like people talk so much about cancel culture and like cultural revolution, but there is just no discourse, no thinking given to the idea of transformative justice. It is not nearly as much of a buzzword as cancel culture or cultural revolution or whatever. Like, nobody's talking about it. It's not in communist literature. It's not even in like mainstream bourgeois literature. Nobody's talking about cancel culture. And in my view, or transformative justice. And in my view, transformative justice is really, it is an inherently political program, because really what transformative justice is about is transforming these institutions, transforming society and the culture that gives rise to criminal behavior. So I don't think that you can have like a real movement for transformative justice without it being like necessarily coupled with an anti-capitalist political program. So I think that, cancel culture is a manifestation of there's some kind of shared kernel between, this desire to cancel people and the desire to have like a transformative justice. It's likely some kind of dissatisfaction with conventional judicial frameworks. But the two things are, not the same. And cancel culture is obviously much more amenable to like the liberal bourgeois regimes, which is likely why it has like taken off and gained such cultural power. But transformative justice, on the other hand, nobody's talking about it because it's like a much more radical vision that, does require you to have a principled stance on what to do with perpetrators, and you can't just send them to the cops. Transformative justice does not mean just like acquiring enough testimonies from enough people about, criminal behavior that the cops can then take it over. You could just like hand it off to the carceral state. No, transformative justice is an abolitionist vision for doing justice. So yeah, I'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'm going to try to like drop all the pretense a little bit and, just speak a little bit more heartfelt, and hopefully in that way I'll be able to say something more clear than the videos that I made this week where I tried to get into it, but I realized that I didn't really do a good job and I was still kind of like dancing around the issues. So I'm going to try to just like talk directly about what transformative justice means to me. And remember, Sunday, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. EST, we're going to have a fun live stream. I'm going to be online for about an hour, maybe more if, there's activity, but it's going to be fun. Come, I'm going to spill some juicy goss and, just talk about whatever. But I'll see you next time.